Tonight, continuous reduction of food prices in the last quarter of 2019 has influenced a marginal drop in inflation for December 2019. The national year-on-year inflation saw a reduction of 0.3 percentage points from the rate recorded in November the same year. Now, according to government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim, apart from food inflation, housing and transportation also recorded marginal changes during the period.
Measures changes in the prices of a fixed basket of goods and services that households in Ghana consume. According to the government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim, between November 2019 and December 2019, the price level of foods and non-alcoholic beverages went down slightly. This fall is predominantly driven by a decrease in price levels of vegetables and fish. Non-food subclasses with the highest year-on-year inflation include other transport services, postal and courier services, and housing.
This shows that the year-on-year inflation rate for December 2019 is 7.9. To put this figure in a context, we want to recall that the year-on-year inflation between November 2018 and November 2019 was 8.2, which shows that from a year-on-year basis, there has been a drop of 0.3 between November 2018 and November 2019 on one hand, relative to December 2018 and December 2019 on the other hand. Food inflation continued to dominate, and food inflation precisely is contributing about 2/5 of the inflation figure that we shared with you, which is 7.9. Relative to the 4 previous months, we realized that the figure has ranged between 45.5% and 39.4%. So it's still dominant around 2/5 as a contributor of inflation rate for the country. Followed by this are 2 others, which is housing and transportation. So we see marginal changes in housing and transportation, which when you put together, it gives us about 1/3 as a contributor to our inflation.
He says the Greater Accra and Volta regions had the highest rate of inflation for the period, whilst the Ashanti region had the lowest.
Greater Accra region continued to drive inflation with an inflation figure of 12.0%, followed by Volta region 9.5% and Upper West region 8.6%. So these 3 regions have recorded inflation figures that are higher than the national average of 7.9%. And Ashanti region is recording the lowest year-on-year inflation rate of 5.0%. So we clearly see that the disaggregation at the regional level is showing a 7.0 difference between Greater Accra region, which is recording an inflation figure of 12.0, and Ashanti region, which is recording an inflation figure of 5.0.
Inflation on imported goods was 6.1%, whilst that of locally manufactured goods recorded 8.7% on average. Eben Sabute's report for Joy Business.
Well, we have been getting reaction from economist Daniel Amate-Enim, who says government's Planting for Food and Jobs program could be a major reason driving the inflation rate downwards. He spoke with the host of the Marketplace, Emmanuel Abuajiri-Afe, earlier.
Quite a good news. Closing the year with 7.9, not too far from government projection in the budget, which is plus or minus 8%. And that is to give a very fair macroeconomic indicator that government policies, in a way, is quite working to ensuring that the inflationary target is achieved. So on that score, to me, I think it's a very positive sign that we close the year by 7.9 being the inflationary rate. So it's quite a good signal for businesses as well. And we trust that going into 2018, the managers of the economy will pick up from this signal and then they try to realign their policies to ensure that by the time we are done with the 2020 fiscal year, we have the single-digit inflation as stipulated or by the government over the period. So to me, it's a positive sign. I think, but then again, one of the things that is critical that ought to be looked at, and as stated by the government suspicion, has to do with the food element or the food driver of the inflationary rate. What it means is that in I've said it over and over that in any economy, once you have full sustainability and then the prices of food is within the reach of your citizens, it becomes a very good signal for the citizens to live in a more appreciable manner. And as a government, you can now focus on huge developmental projects. The government ought to look at their policy planting for food and jobs and then try to beef up that policy in a way that the prices for food and the foodstuffs within the domestic economy will be appreciably low to meet every pocket. And not just that, but we should also be looking at how we can deal with our post-harvest losses to ensure that throughout the year we have a food sustainability, which is very key and critical to ensure that going forward we maintain an appreciable inflationary rate that will have effect in the lives of the citizens. It's not a straightforward analysis where we can say that, right from January, the inflationary rate has keep on dropping downwards, and then the rate of change is quite significant to be able to suggest that government policies have been that successful in relation or in correlation to the trend. What it suggests is that at one point in time, we have a reduction, and at another point, we have an increment.
In other news tonight, economist Lord Mensah is cautioning government against over-expenditure going into this year's election. Ghana's debt to GDP, according to the IMF staff report, is a little over 63%. This has brought up the debate over what coupon rate government may get from its intended issue of the €3 billion Eurobond at the end of this month. Dr. Lord Mensah says the finance minister must take a cue from the caution that came from the IMF.
Looking at in the past, we're controlling ourselves because possibly the IMF was present here, which was more or less serving as a headmaster who is looking after a student to take care of himself or something. But then clearly, this year is something that we need to look at, because if you go off IMF, what took us to IMF was financial indiscipline during election years. And sometimes we spend to the extent that the 4 years within the administration we are not able to recover. So going forward, I would say that we should look at our expenditure, i.e., if the focus is on infrastructure, which would deliver as expected, we should focus on that. And then not to, mix it up with expenditure that will go into sectors that you cannot really feel the impact, that people still complain that they are not getting the economic growth that we are talking about. So I think looking at the current time, 2020, the government should be careful in terms. I know very well that it's not politically wise, normally cutting down your expenditure. But then, structures have been put in place, looking at the fiscal, discipline act, and then looking at the fiscal council, and then looking at all those, structures that will ensure that financially we stay disciplined in terms of our fiscal space.
Now, a review of the performance of 40 state-owned enterprises has revealed some disturbing details about specific entities under the State Interest and Governance Authority. The review indicates that some state-owned enterprises are riddled with huge legacy debts, while others are not honoring their core line of operation. These emerged at the signing of this year's performance contract for specified entities. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia called on heads of state-owned enterprises to digitize to stay more productive.
Efficient operation of these state enterprises can drag down the economy and lead to losses in jobs and high cost of living and so on. Government recognizes some of the challenges of your sector. You are dealing with legacy debts, low working capital, and weak corporate governance structures, to mention some of them. We are very mindful of this, and government is committed to taking the strategic steps to fix these challenges and restore confidence in our state and entities. For the most part, And this is really looking at the background for the establishment of SIGA and what we are witnessing today. For the most part, the activities of a lot of state enterprises was very opaque as far as government was concerned. There was no visibility in what was expected year in and year out of each of the state enterprises. We just ended up being presented with bills for payment when debts arose. And you didn't know how these debts came about and all of that. But there was this lack of transparency and visibility in the operations of the state enterprises. So it's in light of these numerous challenges facing state entities that government in 2019 took a bold decision to pass the State Interest and Governance Accountability. You need to apply the current trends in ICT resources and deploy them to inject efficiency in your operations. It is, of course, common knowledge that government has embarked on a major digitization agenda in our country.
Let's hear a bit more about the issues with state-owned enterprises from the Director General of State Interest and Governance Authority, Stephen Asamoah-Boateng.
We have departed from the SEC era where non-compliance did not mean anything. This time, there are heavy penalties ranging from refusal to grant bonuses to your staff, your financial charges on penalties if you fail to adhere to certain guidelines, through to recommendation to the appointing authority to remove management and board of directors. And of course, there is the other side, which I don't want to mention, but it's there, it's in the law, which is prosecution and leading to jail and fines. But we hope we don't get there.
Moving on to one of our top stories tonight, General Secretary of the Railway Workers Union, Godwill Intama, says the Ghana Railway Company Limited is likely to collapse in the next months if government does not ensure that the Ghana Manganese Company is made to function effectively as soon as possible. Mr. Intama told Joy Business that the main revenue source for the Ghana Railway Company Limited is the haulage of manganese from Nsuta to the port of Takoradi. He spoke with Natalia Kwanzaa.
We want to make a passionate appeal to His Excellency the President of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, basically on the Ghana Manganese Company and Ghana government discussions going on so far on the export of manganese from Ghana. What is happening now is that this is affecting Ghana Railway Company Limited because since December 2019, manganese brought to Ghana Railway Company Limited, telling them that they cannot work in December. And so from December up to now, there has not been any haulage of manganese by Ghana Railway Company Limited, which has seriously affected to the extent that even December salaries for railway workers have not been paid. Now, going forward, if this thing continues for some time, then it means GRCL will not be in business. And it's very pathetic for the over 1,700 workers of Ghana Railway to go and stay home because of manganese not operating.
Okay. But apart from this, don't you have any other source or means to boost your operations?
The unfortunate thing is that beyond Takwa, the railway lines are deteriorated to the extent that nothing can be done there. That is why we are calling for the revamping of the railway lines up to Awaso, so that we can haul bauxite, can take cocoa and those kind of stuff. You know, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't have bothered when manganese said they were not going to work.
Moving on, so we are in the second week of January, and as is the case every time, most people are complaining they are broke. Well, question then is, how do you survive and get your finances in order, not just this month, but the rest of the year? Software developer Edmond Tete may just have the answer. He's developed an app, Peswa Smart, which helps manage your personal finances. Edmond shares with us on the Joy Business Van what motivated him to create the app and how it works. If you're struggling to manage your personal finances, whatever I told you, the answer is right here. It's the month of January, and just like everyone, Edmond Tete is sorting out his finances. He likes to keep track of everything. I guess it's the kind of attitude you need if you want to manage your personal finances well.
It started way back from my first job. I was keeping an Excel sheet, and you know Excel sheets have columns. I virtually exhausted the whole sheet, and I was like, okay, this is good. I know how much I'm getting, how I'm spending, but how do I get others to follow my track? And I was like, I need to make it much easier, and therefore decided to develop the software, which is much more easier to use than Excel because you don't have to worry about formulas and formatting and scrolling. All you do is to dump your data in there, it does the analysis and then the calculations for you.
Everything you need is on this pen drive, which costs 50 cedis or about $9. The pen drive has got the app Peso Smart and a manual. But Edmond is introducing this app to a society where most people do not have the habit of keeping track of how much they spend and using an app to do so for that matter.
Tech is becoming more available now, and averagely I can say there will be about 50% homes with computers, and if you happen to go to a former place of work, then the chances you sit behind a PC in a day. So you have the tool at your hand. It's not just for work. You can go the extra mile to improve upon yourself, and improve your finances is improving your life in a very great way. I developed a pen drive so that it is mobile, it's not stuck to one place, and therefore anywhere you can continue using it, anywhere, home, work, on the move, and then it's compatible to any computer that you slot it in. It doesn't require installation, and it's independent.
If you do not like working math like me, you may be thinking twice about Peso Smart, but this is the best part. You don't have to worry about that. Some of the features on Peso Smart are the monthly transactions tracker, lifestyle tracker, investment tracker, as well as the projects and loans tracker.
Then the retirement target, this is my baby. This helps you to know or help you to set future targets. Everybody wants to have some sum of money when they grow old. So this is the place that is most useful. I mean, this is if anything, use just this component. If you are young, this is the time to save. And this tells you with your age how much you need to put down in a month. Younger people have the higher chance of making $1 million than older people. A fresh student out of school needs to just put down about 50 cedis compared to a full adult who is even an MD around 50 years. He needs to put about 2,000 cedis down till retirement to make $1 million cedis. So time is everything with savings.
Edmond has quite a task on his hand to convince people to use Peso Smart. He markets it to everyone he meets and engages friends on social media.
People call you and they're like, I wish to save money, but it's difficult. And I keep telling them that, listen, the best way to keep money is to be able to have a track record of it. Because if you know where your money is coming from and where they are going or who has your money, then you can always know the value or the total quantum of money you have. And therefore, record keeping is the secret. And you know, paper is not friendly. It will either get wet or get torn or get disappeared in your bag.
So, what next for the software developer?
I look forward to see my software become a feature or a component on probably smartphones. Hopefully, a Ghanaian manufacturer will come up and say, I'm producing phones out there, and this will be a proud product by a Ghanaian to show up as part of the phone. So every phone user out there is going to have this software right on there to use.
Edmond hopes this app would also be a tool to improve financial literacy. Time to get some education myself. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You don't have an excuse not to manage your funds properly.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Let me give you an idea what's on our page tonight. We have the latest on Iran, the Iran attack. As we've been telling you, crude oil prices have risen after Iraq missile attacks. Also, passenger safety in the midst of weather challenges. We have a story from the GCAA. And if you've been monitoring the news tonight, Men's Gold customers have begun a fresh push to retrieve their locked up cash. You can read all of that on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We are back same time tomorrow.